Hola a todos y bienvenidos a Habla Español con Harrison. Hello and welcome to Speak Spanish with Harrison. En el video de hoy vamos a hablar de cómo hablar mejor español. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to speak better Spanish or how to improve your Spanish speaking skills. Because the fact is, the only way to get better at speaking Spanish is by doing that. And there are many different ways to do it. Some ways are very effective at improving your speaking skills, and some ways might actually hurt your progress. So I'm going to cover all that in this video. So let's dive in. The first question that I want to cover is, when should you start practicing speaking Spanish? Well, the short answer is starting from day one, because it's one thing to read Spanish, to write Spanish, or even listen to Spanish, but it's a totally different thing to speak Spanish. So if your goal is to eventually speak Spanish, then you should absolutely start speaking it as soon as you start learning. Even if it's just as simple as, Hola, me llamo Harrison. Hello, my name is Harrison. Because what it does is that you start building the habit of speaking Spanish, and you're training your body as well. You know, your mouth, your lips, your tongue, you're training these tiny muscles as well. Now, the next question is, who should you practice speaking Spanish with? Because if you're like most people, you might think, oh, I'm gonna talk to my family if they speak Spanish. I'm gonna talk to my friends, talk to my neighbor, talk to my coworker. They speak Spanish, so they must be able to help me. However, I don't really recommend that. And I'll give you two reasons why that's the case. First, you might not get any feedback or corrections from these people. And I'm not saying that they're not trying to help. I'm pretty sure they have the best intention to help you. But their way might look like just being there to support you no matter what you say. So you could be using the wrong word, the wrong tense, or put words in totally a different order, and they will still say you did a good job, well done, way to go, and that unconsciously might reinforce your bad habits, and it's not something that we want, especially for you as a beginner Spanish learner. And the second reason that I don't recommend speaking to those people as your primary way of practicing speaking is that they might not necessarily understand what it's like to learn a second language. They don't understand what you know in Spanish or what you don't know, and they may not know that you can only understand a slower, more clearer way of pronunciation. So they might respond to you in a way that's totally outside of your level, or using words that are way too complicated for you to understand. So basically what happens is you're trying to have a simple conversation, but when they respond to you, then you realize, wow, I cannot understand anything that they say, and that would end up hurting your confidence, and that's not what we want either. So what is the solution? Well, my recommendation is always to practice in a controlled environment. And the best way to do that is to practice one-on-one with an experienced tutor, because they can give you confirmation when you say something right. They can point out your mistakes and correct you when you say something wrong. They can use simple languages or vocabulary that are within your level so that you can understand them. And they can make you feel comfortable and give you the proper support so you don't feel embarrassed when you make mistakes. But what if you don't want to hire any tutor, or there's no one around you that you can practice with? Well, in this case, you do need to be resourceful. And there are many things that you can do as well. First, you can go on Google and search language exchange clubs in your local city. Perhaps there's a Spanish learning club that's meeting up every single week that you can go to and practice your Spanish. Or you can go online, go to sites like Reddit to find the language learning partners, or you can use some language learning apps to find people to practice with as well. And right now we also have the AI technology that allows you to have, a somewhat natural conversation. For example, Lengua Talk is a great AI tool, but in my opinion, it still doesn't replace talking to a real human or finding a tutor. Okay, great. So we've talked about when you should start practicing speaking Spanish, who you should practice with, and now let's talk about how to actually do the practice. In my opinion, there are three main ways that you can go about it. The first way is what I call the parroting method, and this is best for absolute beginners. Basically, what you do is you will take a dialogue that you've already learned. For example, Hola, ¿cómo estás? Estoy muy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? Estoy muy bien también. Adiós. Nos vemos. Obviously, that's a very, very simple example, but as you can see, you and your practice partner can sit down. Each person takes on part of the conversation and repeat the same dialogue. This is good because you don't have to think of a response on your own. All you have to do is to repeat what you've learned. It's great to build up your confidence, get you used to speaking the language, and to practice your pronunciation. And the downside, obviously, is just repetition. You don't go beyond what's given to you. And that's why I want to talk about the next practice method. So what I'm going to cover next is actually my favorite way to practice speaking in any language, and I call it the trial and feedback method. Basically, you will have a natural conversation with your practice partner, and it can start off just like having a normal conversation. For example, your partner can ask you, "Cuéntame de tu día," tell me about your day, and you can start sharing about your day. You'll try to express as much as you can, but obviously you'll reach a point where you simply don't know how to express certain ideas, you don't know how to say certain words in Spanish, or you don't know how to put words into a sentence. And that's when your practice partner can come in and tell you, hey, this is how you say it. And you would repeat the right way of saying things and continue with the conversation. And at the end, you would write down everything that you were told during that conversation, basically all the correct ways to express these ideas, and that's what you're going to take away to study for the next few days. So why do I like this method? Well, because you're actually actively using this language. You're not just repeating some sentences that were given to you, you're actually putting words into sentences and expressing your own ideas. And because you have someone there to help you out, it means you don't have to be perfect to use this method. And you can totally make mistakes. And actually, it's good for you to make mistakes because each mistake means you're learning something new. So basically, you're learning as you go. And the phrases, the words, the sentences that you write down are the ones that you actually wanted to use. So they're a lot more relatable to you and they're a lot easier to remember as well. And the key to leverage this method is to do the studying afterwards. Because the words, the phrases, the sentences that you write down, if you don't do the studying, then you still don't know them. So when you go into the next session, then you still have no idea how to say these. So it's very important that you do the homework afterwards so that each session is built upon the other and you'll keep progressing forward. And obviously the downside of this method is that you do need a basic knowledge of the Spanish language because you can't speak the language if you don't know anything about this language, right? But the good news is you don't need to know a lot. All you need to know is the basic to start practicing speaking Spanish this way. That's why if you join my own Spanish learning program, this is the exact way that we do it. First, we give you the foundation, the pronunciation, the phrases, the grammar, for you to be able to form sentences. And then we use this trial and feedback method to help you build up your speaking skills. Now, there's also another way to keep practicing your speaking skills if you reach an advanced level where just by having a normal conversation, you don't really encounter words that you don't know, you don't really have ideas that you cannot express, or you encounter grammar points that still confuse you, then you can use this method that I call live and learn method. Basically, you stop learning this language, but more so living in this language. You would read books in this language, learn about interesting topics in this language, watch YouTube videos, watch movies, basically doing all the immersion things that someone might do at the beginning, but you're doing it more so to expose yourself to new ideas, new expressions, new phrases, new words. You're basically expanding your input as much as possible and keep challenging yourself that way. But again, I'm not going to go too deep into this method because this is more for advanced learners. And as you can see, this video is designed for beginner Spanish learners. So just as a summary, if you're an absolute beginner, I would recommend the parroting method. And if you already know the basics, I would recommend the trial and feedback method with a practice partner. And if you already reach the advanced level, then you can use the live and learn method to keep challenging yourself that way. So that's it for this video, how to practice your speaking skills as a brand new beginner. And hopefully it's given you a roadmap in terms of how to get started as a brand new beginner all the way to being more advanced. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. And I'll see you in the next video. Hasta luego.